Tonight on Bridge City News, Alberta Premier Jason Kenney says the novel coronavirus may force his government to abandon its core election promise to balance the books. And some of Kenney's top cabinet ministers were in Lethbridge today for a Chamber of Commerce luncheon, giving locals a chance to ask some questions about the 2020 provincial budget. Federal Conservative leadership candidate Peter MacKay says his earlier comments on social conservatives were misunderstood.
Your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Paul Arthur.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Alberta is dealing with a second presumptive case of the novel coronavirus. Dina Hinshaw, Chief Medical Officer of Health, says the new case is a man in his 40s from the Edmonton area who recently traveled to Michigan, Illinois, and Ohio. He is currently isolated at his home. On Thursday, Hinshaw announced the first presumptive case in the province, a woman in her 50s from Calgary who works at ATB Financial. ATB has temporarily closed 2 Calgary branches as a precaution. Premier Jason Kenney says the novel coronavirus may force his government to abandon its core election promise to balance the books by 2023.
But we Albertans are not an island. It is frustrating. It is frustrating after 5 years of economic decline and stagnation. And just as I think we've been ready to see significant growth in 2020, to see this global downturn from the coronavirus. The Conference Board of Canada, a week ago today, projected that Alberta would be the second fastest growing provincial economy in Canada at 2.2% GDP growth in 2020 and 2.3% growth next year. But obviously, those projections are now in question until we know how bad and severe this global downturn is.
The Premier says his government will manage the situation by keeping spending flat on health and education and cutting elsewhere. NDP leader Rachel Notley says while the COVID-19 outbreak will have an impact, Kenney's plan to balance the budget was based on a collection of Fantasyland numbers. Some of the Premier's top cabinet ministers were in Lethbridge today for a Meet the Ministers luncheon hosted by the Lethbridge Chamber of Commerce, giving locals the chance to ask some questions about the 2020 budget and listen to comments from Minister of Finance Travis Taves, Minister of Agriculture and Forestry Devin Dreeshen, and Grant Hunter, the Associate Minister of Red Tape Reduction, as well as local Lethbridge East MLA Nathan Newdorf.
Firstly, I believe we're hearing that we should stay the course, that we need to continue to ensure that we're making responsible fiscal decisions on behalf of Albertans, and we intend to do that. That's Budget 2020 continues along that track with a plan to balance by 22-23. You know, additional work to do to ensure that we're getting government out of the way in some cases, to ensure that we have the most competitive regulatory environment where businesses can compete globally effectively.
The ministers are hoping events like this will keep communication lines open to get helpful feedback on how the budget is affecting local businesses. Lethbridge College has confirmed that it will be laying off staff in light of the provincial budget. The number of jobs lost has not been finalized yet, but college officials say that some of the eliminated positions are currently vacant and other layoffs will come through attrition. The Board of Governors will be meeting in the weeks ahead and anticipates having a final budget by March 31st. The South Region Star Skate Chinook Open Invitational Competition is taking place this weekend at the Lethbridge ATB Centre, which is a packed-out event hosted by the Lethbridge Figure Skating Club.
We get skaters from all over the place, so lots from Alberta, some from BC and Saskatchewan. We have up to about 800 skaters who come and compete here, all ages, so we've got some really young kids and then up, through 17, 18.
There's lots of us competing here because it's an at-home competition, so it's really fun. We get to go watch each other and we get to cheer each other on and give each other some confidence, and we're just really supportive of everyone that's competing, all levels. It's a family.
You can watch more of the skating action tomorrow starting at 8 a.m., going all day long, finally wrapping up at 9 p.m. After last night's competition at the Professional Bull Riding Monster Energy Tour at the NMAC Centre, Nick Tetz and Dalton Rudman are tied for the lead after matching 86-point rides. That lifts Tetz up 2 positions in the national standings to number 6, while Rudman is now tied for 13th spot nationally. Kindersley, Saskatchewan's Dakota Butter holds the number 1 spot. The championship round goes tonight at 7 p.m. A collision between a truck and a bicycle has sent the cyclist from Lethbridge to a Calgary hospital with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. The incident happened a little after 5 p.m. yesterday afternoon at the intersection of 3rd Avenue and Stafford Drive North. At this point, no other details are available, but police continue to investigate the accident. Much of the country returns to daylight saving time this weekend. Most provinces will put the clocks forward 1 hour before bedtime tonight, or at 2 a.m. local times. And the Lethbridge Fire Department is also reminding everyone to use this opportunity to check your smoke alarm and carbon monoxide detector batteries. Officials in California are deciding where to dock a cruise ship with 21 cases of COVID-19 aboard. It's currently in international waters off San Francisco with 3,500 passengers and crew, including 237 Canadians. U.S. Vice President Mike Pence is promising that all of those remaining on the ship will get tested for the virus.
We have developed a plan which will be implemented this weekend to bring the ship into a non-commercial port. All passengers and crew will be tested for the coronavirus. Those that need to be quarantined will be quarantined. Those that require additional medical attention will receive it. But let me assure the American public, as we did so with Americans returning from China and those returning from the other cruise ship, we are taking all measures necessary to see to the health of the Americans and those involved on the Grand Princess, and just as importantly, to protect the health of the American public.
Meanwhile, Canadian Health Minister Patty Hajdu announced yesterday that Ottawa is increasing its funding for COVID-19 research by $20 million after concluding that the $7 million it had planned to spend isn't enough. There are now 60 confirmed or presumptive cases of COVID-19 in Canada. A man who stabbed 2 teenage girls in a BC high school in 2016 has been found guilty of second-degree murder and aggravated assault. The defense had argued that Gabriel Klein, who has since been diagnosed with schizophrenia, did not have the intent to kill.
Gabriel Klein had the clear intention to murder both girls and succeeded with murdering Letitia Reimer. So, we're now awaiting sentencing, and from Letitia's mom, Ellie, she writes, "I'm thankful that this phase is now wrapped up, and we'll wait to see what the sentencing will be. However, the people who are really serving the sentence are those of us who no longer have Letitia in our lives." I mean, the family, this is no joy for the family today. This is just one more step in the journey. If there's any sort of solace that everyone can have, is that the justice made the right decision with the facts that she had, and this murderer will now serve some time.
When he is sentenced, he'll be sent to the regional assessment center where his mental health will be evaluated. I'm hoping that he will obtain a disposition which keeps him in a psychiatric facility.
Klein will be sentenced in June. Federal Conservative leadership candidate Peter MacKay's words are coming back to haunt him. He regrets that people are assuming he disapproves of their social views after once saying that current leader Andrew Scheer's socially conservative values were a stinking albatross. MacKay made the remark after the last federal election in referring to how Scheer was dogged by questions during the campaign about same-sex marriage and abortion. Alberta Premier Jason Kenney referenced MacKay's comment as he endorsed leadership candidate Erin O'Toole.
With respect to the comments about the stinking albatross, look it up. It's a reference to an old literary poem I read as a kid called The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, where a man who was on a ship had an albatross put around his neck and he couldn't get rid of it. He didn't put it there, but he struggled to get rid of it. And that was the issue, that Andrew Scheer was labeled as being somebody who might reopen this debate, and he wasn't able to move away from that particular narrative. And that narrative wasn't begun by him, I assure you. I regret the way people have interpreted it, how it was torqued, how it was misconstrued, and it might have been a little raw at the time. But I think as conservatives, if we want to win, we've got to be honest with ourselves. We have to address some of the shortcomings that Canadians saw in our campaign the last time. We have to be a little bit more forward-looking and optimistic and putting things in the window that people can vote for, not just against. There's lots that the Prime Minister is doing to harm himself. We need to talk about a different narrative, a different path, and how we would do it differently in favor of Canadians. I think we do need to put an emphasis back on the economy full bore. We need to actually address some of the shortages that we're seeing in the workforce, some of the problems, quite frankly, that are shaking confidence both here in Canada and internationally.
The leadership vote will take place on June 27th. Recapping one of our top news stories, some of Jason Kenney's top cabinet ministers were in Lethbridge today for a Chamber of Commerce luncheon, giving locals a chance to ask some questions about the 2020 provincial budget. And a look at weekend weather. We will continue to see some off and on flurries tonight with 2 to 4 centimeters coming down with a chilly low of -14. But back to sunshine tomorrow with a west wind gusting from 40 to 60 and a high of +2. Woods Homes is a nonprofit group which has been helping children in distress since 1917. Shauna Cohen is the group's program manager in Lethbridge. She stopped by our studio recently to chat with Hal Roberts about their approach. That interview is straight ahead. But first, here's a look at what's happening in and around your community.
Here's your Bridge City News community calendar. Southern Alberta Men's Ministry is hosting Shine Be the Light Men's Conference on March 20th and 21st at University Drive Alliance Church. emceeing the conference is our very own BCN's Hal Roberts, with special guest speaker Pastor Leonard Anderson from Halifax, Nova Scotia. Tickets are $20 and $10 for college students. Purchase yours by visiting eventbrite.ca. For more information, call 403-327-4422. The Canadian Christian Business Federation is launching a Lethbridge chapter, and they invite leaders from all walks of life to a networking breakfast and presentation on Tuesday, March 24th, beginning at 7:15 a.m. at Smitty's on Mayor McGrath Drive South. Hear from guest speaker, CCBF Executive Director Keith Knight. To confirm your attendance, email tony.ccbf@gmail.com. And that's your Bridge City News Community Calendar.